Today there's going to be a Zoom conference between iwi leaders and the Minister of Māori Affairs and the Minister for Resources. That's Shane Jones is the Minister for Resources. Tama Pautaki is the Minister for Māori Affairs. So they're going to have a Zoom call with iwi leaders to talk about the government's, plans, intention, moves to open up or to lift a moratorium on new oil and gas exploration in New Zealand. A moratorium under the pressure of the Greens brought in by the last Labour government. A moratorium that, made places like Taranaki really hurt. And I guess if you were to read mainstream media, legacy media, you would believe that Māori are almost wholly opposed to the idea of us using our natural resources, which lies beneath the ground in New Zealand, to improve our prosperity and our economic outlook. Is that the case? And why is it important that these two ministers do have this Zoom call today with iwi leaders? Well, to find out why, we're joined now by the Minister for Resources, Shane Jones. Minister, thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning.
Kia ora. Good morning, folks. Thanks for having me on the show again.
All right. Why are you talking to Māori leaders today about what is a pretty practical legislative move to open up more resource prospecting in New Zealand?
A damn good question. Over the last 3 years, the law was changed by Labour and the Greens, requiring statutory decision makers, and this time it's myself, to engage and consult with hapu and iwi before any significant changes pertaining to oil and gas are made. It's not something that I was actually cognizant of. But look, we campaigned on reopening oil and gas. Gas, as you know, is absolutely essential to keep the lights on in New Zealand. The Huntly Power Station and one or three others deeply depend on it. Methanex, a fantastic employer. They've struck some troubling times because of the uncertainty of gas supply. It's repowered over the last 30, 40, 50 years Taranaki economy after it came out of an earlier slump. But look, it's something that we've got to go through. I could be sued if I don't do it. I've asked Tama Pautaki, who's the Minister of Māori Affairs, to sit in on the call with me. But I've also said in the New Zealand Herald, I've had a gutsful of this green gullibility invading the thought processes of too many iwi leaders, and rest assured I'll be telling them that on the line.
Because one could, in general, if you were, landing on a spaceship from Mars, you'd look at it and you say the perception is that Māori really don't like mining. They're not into mineral extraction, and we see things like, the sand mining and things. It always seems to be an iwi group or a, conservation consortium that involves a Māori group. Are Māori per se anti-mining, anti-prospecting?
Garden variety Māori are leaving New Zealand every single week to go and dig up Australia. There is no deep moral revulsion in the Māori personality, just as there isn't in the Kiwi personality, to using natural resources. How come it's good enough to send all of our young people over to Australia, in many cases never to come home, to profit and dig up Australia, but somehow there's this religious-like agenda driven by a tiny minority of green operatives to prevent New Zealand from profiting from our own natural endowment. It's shallow thinking. Sadly, for many regional economies, it's been exceedingly dangerous, and that's why I'm going on the 23rd of May to Blackball, the former home of the Labour Party, to announce the government's new mining policy.
All right. Look, it would seem to me in a political sense too, Minister, the Green Party and the Māori Party, for instance, they're on the left of the political spectrum, or they would paint themselves there. Does that mean that Māori, there are attempts to radicalise Māori or some Māori on issues like mining and exploration?
Well, a lot of our Māori population is very youthful, and there is the ideology of eco-catastrophisation. Now, that may sound like a mouthful of a word, but it's the truth. The most innocuous things are being done to improve people's lives through mining, jobs, whether it's the mine sands near Devlin, whether it's the mine sands off the coast of Taranaki, and obviously that's now in abeyance.
Yeah.
And then there's the mine sand developments down around Westport. All of those are legitimate parts of the modern economy. They have every right to exist. Sure, they've got to observe environmental limits, but stop catastrophizing these things as if we're turning our landscape into some sort of Martian example. More importantly, that we're creating some kind of mutated new species because of these mining activities. It's so out of control in terms of the ideological reach, and I'm enjoying every opportunity I have to speak against it.
All right. Look, going back to the start of this interview, you said there are laws that say you have to consult. Are you doing this whole consultation by Zoom? Is this just a box-ticking exercise, Minister?
Oh, no. People have every right to tell me that they don't believe we should be using oil and gas anymore, but I have to also remind everyone that a modern economy needs consistent flow of electricity every single hour of the day. Yeah, it's good to have more developments in relation to geothermal energy and solar energy if they're in the right place, and maybe one day, in the days of my own children, there might be offshore wind in Taranaki and Waikato. But in the right now and here, we are burning coal that's being imported from Indonesia, and if we don't have a consistent flow of gas going into the medium-term future, we're going to be burning a lot more coal because of the unreliability in terms of rain, solar and wind.
So your message to Iwi today is going to be, don't worry about the lifting of the ban?
Well, my message is there's always trade-offs, Sean. If you don't like the intrusive nature of oil drilling and gas drilling, then something has to give, because we absolutely need it to power industry, to maintain jobs, to boost the resilience of our energy system. And life, whether it's economic, political or personal, is always about give and take. And we campaigned that we're going to get rid of Jacinda Ardern's wretched ban and bring more confidence back to investors so they can find the gas and power our economy when needed through natural gas.
All right, look, the government's also announced to hinder a review of the decision to close Marsden Point. Are you involved in that decision?
Yes, that's underway as we speak. There's two elements to it. It's fuel resilience. We obviously need to ensure now we don't have the refinery that the oil companies don't shortchange us and we run out of jet fuel. I mean, down in Queenstown 4 or 5 years ago, they ran out of jet fuel.
That's when the refinery was open, right?
Pardon?
4 or 5 years ago, the refinery was open, right?
That's my point. Unless we focus on resilience, we're going to have ongoing difficulties and, more importantly, at the moment, geopolitical threats to New Zealand.